we're already seeing the impact of climate change on businesses. Various stakeholders are able to assess the vulnerability of a bank's balance sheet to climate risk.
Welcome to this episode of Sustainability Karma. I'm your host Rajiv Tikoo. Today we talk about the banking sector and its role in India's net zero journey. We have with us a special guest, Rajiv Anand, who's Deputy Managing Director at Axis Bank. Let's welcome Rajiv Anand to the show of Sustainability Karma.
Thank you so much for having me, Rajiv.
How is Axis Bank driving the ESG agenda in the bank and in the sector as a leader?
For us, everything starts from our purpose statement. Banking that leads to a more inclusive and equitable economy, thriving community, and a healthier planet. So that, in a sense, defines everything that we do, and we help meet diverse needs of millions of Indians, urban, rural, small businesses, large corporations. We channelize investments into critical aspects of the economy, such as creation of social and economic infrastructure, and we play a key role in financial inclusion as well. In terms of both unbanked and underbanked, populations of our society. As a large financial institution here in India, we are obviously aligned to national and global sustainability development and climate action agenda that is being driven, in a sense, at the highest levels in the country today. We believe that it's not just about it doing right. We also believe, and we've seen numerous instances of this, where climate sustainability risk has actually, because it was not well managed, well contained, it actually led to NPAs in the previous cycle. And so therefore, we look at it not just in terms of doing right for the nation or the planet, but also in terms of whether ultimately as a bank, our primary goal is to be able to lend to borrowers and ensure that money comes in, then money comes back to us. And within that, climate and sustainability risk is a key parameter. Inclusivity and sustainability is something that has got ingrained and inbuilt into Indian society. Similarly, from a governance perspective, we now, thanks to the fact that the markets have opened up, we have more foreign institutional investors as well. We now across corporate India, we have adopted the best global standards as far as governance is concerned.
Banking has a key role in India's net zero journey. And how prepared is the banking sector to play this role? And what are the challenges that you are facing?
First, obviously, is the data quality. Data quality is always a challenge as we think about the kind of impact that we are having. And also, data quality is also critical from the perspective about assessing sustainability risk, and also the whole issue around greenwashing. And so therefore we don't want to be in a situation where we are perceived to be lending to sectors which may or may not necessarily, or make commitments which may or may not necessarily be within this sphere. Taxonomy, what exactly is sustainable sectors? And I think, are we getting consistency across the various market players? These are some of the various issues that we are currently grappling with. There is a working committee at the RBI level. There's a working committee at the SEBI level to address many of these issues, including in terms of disclosure. And I think it's early days, and I think over the next 12 to 18 months, you will see a significant change in terms of transparency and disclosure within this space.
Data is a big challenge for all sectors, but for banking, probably it's more important to address this challenge. How are you overcoming the data challenge actually?
I think as the regulators start to make it mandatory to make some of these disclosures, some of the better rated or some companies have certainly started making disclosures, but I think once it starts to become more, it starts to become regulatory a regulatory requirement. I think some of these will get addressed, and I think we are also working with EU. EU is well ahead in this game of taxonomy and disclosures, etc. And there have been multiple conversations with them as well. And hopefully we will be able to close the gap as we go forward.
How active are the banking sector regulators, and how do you see the sectoral EAG discourse unfolding going forward now? Because it's a very dynamic kind of a scenario. Things are changing every day, actually.
I just want to talk about what RBI has already called out. Climate finance as one of the key risks that all banks should be looking at this point in time. They're also pushing us to evaluate the various scenarios that could potentially play out from a climate risk perspective, and how that risk could potentially impact our lending portfolios. And we are actually seeing this playing out at this point in time. This summer we have seen Delhi, for example, has seen 50 degrees, which we have never seen. And I'm sure now that the monsoons are here as well, that we will see floods as well.
Right.
And just to give you an example, some of my clients, particularly in the auto sector, they were indicating that their business was impacted in May because the footfalls into showrooms were significantly lower because people didn't want to get out of their homes. And so therefore sales of cars during this period was actually impacted. And so therefore we're already seeing the impact of climate change on businesses. And as bankers, it becomes absolutely imperative to be able to assess those risks as we think about our portfolios. And because remember that our portfolios, our customers are geographically distributed. I mean, we are across about 2,300 towns and cities across the country. And given the diversity of the country, there is either a heat wave or floods, and in some part of the country at most points in time. And so therefore, how do you assess that impact on portfolios is becoming increasingly important. And I think the regulator is certainly pushing us towards thinking about these issues much more than what we did historically.
You refer to RBI. Now, RBI's draft disclosure framework on climate-related financial risks has been around for some time. So what is your opinion on it?
So the draft disclosure framework is in line with the regulator's statements and actions over the last few years, such as RBI joining the central banks and supervision network for greening of the financial system. Prior to the draft disclosure framework, their discussion paper on climate risk and sustainability was issued in July, and also brought a lot of clarity for regulated entities on this. The framework aligns to the TCFD recommendations. TCFD is, I'm sure is the task force on climate-related financial disclosures that was established by the G20 to improve and increase reporting of climate-related financial information. Post the discussions, the regulators have been proactively in discussions with the banks, seeking inputs of our experience, the challenges and recommendations, which have also been fed into the draft disclosures. It mandates that we disclose information regarding the bank's ability to both identify and manage climate-related financial risks. We've been speaking about that, extensively, and the opportunities as a result of that on credit portfolios. In line with TCFD, disclosures by REs is also expected to cover 4 pillars: governance, strategy, risk management, matrix, and targets. And I think the whole intent is 2 parts. One is to ensure that banks are a lot more focused, around this. But more importantly, or as importantly, that various stakeholders are able to assess the vulnerability of a bank's balance sheet to climate risk as well. So I think the RBI has been working on this for quite some time, and it's been a consultative process with the REs or regulated entities. So we are well aligned with what the RBI is aiming to do within this space.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you for having me.
That was Rajiv Anand, Deputy Managing Director, Axis Bank.
We hope you like this program. This program is also live streamed on All India Radio and aired on community radio stations. We look forward to your feedback on our WhatsApp number 9818120554. For participation in this program, write to us at sustainability.karma@gmail.com. You may also connect with us on social media. This podcast is also available on podcast hosting sites. Looking forward to meet you again at the same time next week with a new episode and a new guest. Till then, goodbye from all of us. Sustainability Karma, a podcast series with senior journalist and editor Rajiv Tikoo on sustainable development, sustainability and ESG.